Good morning and welcome to Let's Talk Hookup. This is a pre-recorded show. I hope everybody's having a great Christmas. Merry Christmas to everybody. And this is going to be fun because we're going to date back to some archives that were back as far as 2010. Lots of fun shows. And enjoy, sit back and relax. No phone calls, no text today. But we're going to start things off with Bob Fletcher and Ken Franke. This show was recorded on April 11th, 2010, and two incredible figures in the sport fishing industry. Bob Fletcher did so much for us at SAC, Sport Fishing Association of California, and now Ken Franke has the reins. And at that time, he still owned the Outer Limits, too, at C4 Sport Fishing. So kick back, listen to this show from April 11th, 2010.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Hookup on Double X 1090. Going to be a fun show today. Going to learn a lot, I guarantee you that.
Yes, it is. Now, I forgot one thing. Not only is Ken Franke the president of the SAC, he also is captain of the Outer Limits. That's right, Ken, huh?
Every once in a while. Paul Fisher runs the boat most of the time, and then he lets me come with him once in a while.
Lets you come in. But you that's your boat out of Seaforth.
Still run the boat. Yep.
Yeah, out of Seaforth. We can't forget that because that's kind of your roots there into the whole world here of sport fishing, right?
Yep. No, it's still run the boat once in a while. That is my passion. So
yeah. So now, Bob Fletcher, being the former president, do you miss your job?
I miss certain things about it, and other things about it, I say, pat him on the backside and send him into the game. You go get him, Ken.
And how you feel about that, Ken?
Thanks, Dart.
This is a challenging position that you acquired from Dart, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. People think that everything's so easy. Oh, we just jump in and go sport fishing, but hard to believe how much politics involves in fishing. It's as ridiculous as it sounds. There's a lot of politics in fishing, isn't there?
Yeah, I had no idea when I was getting into this what I was getting into, but it's been quite a challenge. Bob set the stage pretty good, though, and we have a lot of good relationships with especially the Mexican government officials, as well as state officials in California and on the federal level. And there's just a lot of things that have to go on behind the scenes in order for all of us to get to go fishing.
How are our relations with Mexico?
In the government level, really well. I spent a lot of time in Mexico City and Ensenada. Very comfortable going down to the Mexican Navy base and meeting with the command down there. And, we're working really hard with them to promote sport fishing and tourism in Mexico, and they recognize that. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. And that's kind of what we want to do, is we want to recognize Mexico to say, hey, it's an honor and a privilege to be able to fish in their waters, and we want to try and support their economy because of that in as many ways as possible. Absolutely.
One of the big messages that I give when I'm down in Mexico meeting with people is the people that go on our boats, they're the same people, the adventurers, if you will, that go, to the camping areas in Baja, Cabo San Lucas, La Paz, and do all the things in mainland Baja, and it's kind of a spillover from all the advertising from the sport fishing boats. So, we really encourage them to work with us to promote sport fishing, and, it's one of those things, it's a common benefit for everybody. And, with a few exceptions, it's been real successful.
Yeah, okay. So one situation that happened yesterday, one of the things that's very important to Mexico is that everybody obtains a Mexican fishing permit. No longer do we have to have a Mexican license for our individual boats, but we do each have to have, no matter what age you are, have to have a Mexican sport fishing permit when you're fishing at the Coronado Islands or anywhere in Mexican waters, correct?
Right. And as we, as we understand it, and it's appropriate, the Mexican Navy or Profepa, which is the equivalent of our Fish and Game, they will approach your boat and ask to see the fishing licenses, and you're to present your fishing license, make sure it's filled out. They are actively doing that. I talked to a lot of boats yesterday that were asked for their fishing licenses.
At the Coronado Islands.
Coronado Islands. You will find the Navy officers very polite, professional. do everything you can to build up our relationship with them by treating them very respectfully back.
But we certainly encourage all the anglers out there to have their Mexican fishing permits with you, and everybody on the boat with you have Mexican fishing permit, because they were boarding yesterday and they were checking yesterday at the Coronado Islands. Don't mess around with it, because the fines are pretty bad, aren't they?
Yep.
Like they can seize your boat type of fine.
I don't know exactly on the punitive side what the Mexican government would do, but at this point we're just encouraging everybody, please have your licenses. We want this to be a great season. You can get your licenses at the fishing landings, or as I understand it, the state of Baja also has an online service that you can get your licenses for. And, we just want to make sure that everybody has an enjoyable time down there and gets fishing back to normal.
So what percentage of your time now is facing California issues versus Mexican issues?
I'd break it more into California, federal, and then Mexico.
There's federal issues
But
too.
yeah, probably 60% Mexico, 35% California, and 15 federal.
All right.
Yeah, because we have NOAA. There's a lot of new policies coming out about catch shares and limits and that type of stuff that we're involved with.
Yeah, and your boat, the Outer Limits, is involved a lot with NOAA and doing some research for them, right?
Yeah, we've continued. We're at the very tail end of 5 years of research work to develop a new stock assessment program for groundfish in California that'll probably be used nationwide, and that's using acoustics, basically high-speed mapping of the ocean, if you will, and also mapping all the biomass underneath the boat. And they actually can tell you what kind of fish is under the boat by the acoustic signatures now.
Wow. Really?
So it's amazing. Yeah.
So they can talk about the endangered bocaccio?
Yeah. Yeah, if you go to the Southwest Fisheries Science Center's website, look at video, and you can click on cooperative research and see a video of us actually doing the stock assessment out here in California. It's pretty cool.
Wow. Okay. So we all laugh when I say the endangered bocaccio, but why in the world can't California Fish and Game recognize how ridiculous that is?
This is federal, Pete.
Oh, it's federal.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, just like the sharks, which I was corrected last week.
Pacific Fishery Management Council manages groundfish.
They manage groundfish.
The state has a role to play in that, but the actual decision-making is at the council level.
Okay, so why can't the council recognize, while we're on that subject, the way we laugh about the restrictions on bocach?
Because the scientists have to make a determination that the stock is rebuilt, because it was formally listed as overfished a few years ago. Now, when you talk to the scientists one-on-one, unofficially, their attitude is, we completely agree with you. They are rebuilt south of Conception. But the distribution of the stock has 85% south of Conception and 15% north. And so far, they haven't been able to come up with a stock assessment north based on a survey that shows that they're rebuilt north. So until that other 15% gets rebuilt and they can prove it, they can't say the stock's rebuilt.
Yeah.
Now, as long as the stock is not rebuilt, they're going to continue to have this restrictive bag limit. So it's going to be a matter of identify the stock as rebuilt, formally delist them as being depleted, and then address and it's every 2 years when you set regulations for groundfish. So,
and that's the reason we'd like to see this stock assessment process submitted to peer review and finished, because we'd love to give a couple of years' worth of the data to the council to help them make decisions.
That you're collecting on the Outer Limits.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, no, that's great. So, Bob, I was corrected by Steve Crook, and thank you, Steve Crook, former biologist for the DFG, that I was pointing the fingers about sharks at the California Department of Fish and Game, and it isn't. It's the same thing. It is not managed by California Fish and Game anymore.
It's part of the Highly Migratory Species Fishery Management Plan,
which is federal.
Which is the council.
Yeah.
Anytime you're under a fishery management plan of the council, that's federal. Yeah. Now, as I said, the state is there. They're a full player in helping to gather the information and make the decisions, but it is under the federal umbrella of the council.
So when it's federal, is it harder or is it easier, or is there no? Is it kind of a seamless
difference.
You know, the state is broke, and they don't have much in the way of money to do anything.
Yeah.
And Cal Fish and Game is really hurting. The wardens are furloughed right along with everyone else in the department. They have almost no money to do the kind of work that they want to do, and until that changes, it's easier to get it through the council because they're getting regular federal appropriations to make their decisions, and they are actively looking at managing on a set schedule that everyone knows and is aware of. It's not easy, and there are problems with groundfish, especially up north, but they make decisions. They get action. The state, well, for example, there's a nearshore fishery management plan that the state adopted like 10 years ago, and there's 19 species. They've only done stock assessments on like 4 of those 19 species.
Wow.
And this has been 10 years. And don't get Harold Davis started on that.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
He is really
Especially because that's his bread and butter. I mean, that's pretty much what they fish for
That's
in
right.
Morro Bay North.
You bet.
Yeah, that's their deal. Okay, wait a minute. Now, Ricky, wasn't Bob Fletcher supposed to retire last year?
But he is retired, didn't you hear?
Is he it sounds like he's retired. I mean, I don't know. He's still working. I mean, you're working still on a bunch of issues, aren't you?
Works on the
Well-
same amount of things, just goes fishing with Booger a little more often.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm gonna get out more.
Yeah, oh, sure.
But it worked out great for Ken to come in and take over when he did because it allowed me to get into the MLPA side of it, which has taken a huge amount of time and effort, and is not over yet, obviously.
Yeah.
And so it was very, very well timed that Ken could focus on all the issues, including Mexico, and Ken's now a member of MAFAC, which is really, really important for the West Coast and SAC. So he can.
MAFAC is what?
Marine Fisheries Advisory Committee, so that's NOAA, and basically they oversee all of our federal stuff out
The
here.
federal stuff, like the rockfish and shark.
Yeah, I think everybody in the industry and all of the sport fishermen that I personally know realize having Bob very involved in MLPA and me picking up the rest, the timing couldn't have been better
that's for
because there's no way one person could do everything we're dealing with right now.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. So, Bob, speaking of MLPA, I know a lot of our listeners want to know what's the latest.
Well, the commission met in Monterey last week, and there was a lot of testimony to them about the fact that they had betrayed anglers at their March meeting and effectively dropped all 3 of the proposals that had been developed over a year's worth of hard work by the stakeholders groups, including the fishermen and the local harbor masters proposal number 2. And the testimony was, please reopen consideration of proposal 2. Well, while some commissioners indicated that they were still considering it, the political reality is that by not having it as part of the proposed project, the department is not required to do anything by way of developing regulations for any other alternative than the Blue Ribbon Task Force's preferred alternative, which is the one that so many of us are so disgusted with.
Right.
And so the reality is the commission did nothing other than stick to the schedule, the rigid schedule proposed by the RLFF that will lead to adoption of the IPA or the Integrated Preferred Alternative at the October meeting in San Diego.
So are they not doing their job then? Is that kind of what I'm reading into this?
Well, they have a lot of flexibility politically in what they do. Whether they make the right decisions remains to be seen, and at some future date may be the subject of some rather serious discussion in other arenas. But for now, we feel that they betrayed the anglers because at the December meeting, when the Blue Ribbon Task Force formally delivered the IPA and the 3 other alternatives to the commission, and this is documented, you can look at it on the archive video, they said to everyone, we are going to thoroughly analyze all the alternatives throughout this process. And the head of the commission said, all your concerns will be addressed. And then in February, the department came to the commission at their February meeting and said, we don't have the people or the money to do the proposed project with more than one alternative. So if you direct us to continue developing the regulations to go with each of the 3 other alternatives, then we're going to need a couple of million more dollars, and we're going to need another 6 months, and we're going to need to get more people involved, da-da-da-da-da. Well, when the commission heard that, and when the commission knew that this schedule, this rigid schedule, would be blown out the window by that, and the fact that they needed $2 million, the commission recognized that the RLFF, who are signatory to the MOU between the state of California and the RLFF and the department, et cetera, they knew they couldn't do anything other than just throw the other ones out the window. And that's what they did. And at that meeting in Monterey, the public let them know how upset they were. And George Osborne, representing the PSO, was there and testified, and a number of others were there. Some of them were trying to get changes to the IPA to make it more palatable. The PSO believes that there was so much backroom dealing behind closed doors, violations, conflict of interest, so much really corruption in this process that the IPA is not even a legal alternative anymore and should not be considered. And that was our position. And if anyone wants to see that, the keepamericafishing.org has the latest press release on that. And what we're doing is trying to continue to represent all recreational anglers through this process, and we'll continue to do that as long as we're still around and this process is still alive. Wow.
What a screw job. Simply said, basically. The anglers are really getting worked on this deal. It's not right. So let's hope that, better minds can figure that out, and we can get some sense into this democratic political process, which it isn't right now.
An interesting point is that there's going to be an election in November, and we'll have a new governor.
Yeah.
And who knows who that will be or what that will mean in terms of a changed approach to the MLPA. In addition, one of the members of the commission will be leaving the commission at the end of the year, Richard Rogers, who's one of the yes votes for adoption of the MLPA. So that could change things. So there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Clearly, everyone out there on both sides of the aisle knows that.
Yeah.
And so the pro-IPA forces are trying the best they can to keep on schedule to get it adopted before any of those changes.
Because it's supposed to be adopted in October, right?
Right.
Wow, that was fun, wasn't it? Okay, now we're going to stay in April of 2010 and go to the 17th of April in 2010. Captain Jack Webster. At that time, he was running a commercial albacore boat, and certainly one of the most knowledgeable guys we've had on the show, very well-spoken and super informative about albacore, which actually were around here in 2010. So kick back and listen to Captain Jack Webster.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Hookup on Double X 1090. One of the shows I look forward to all year long.
As well as a lot of our listeners out there. Captain Jack! Did they name that movie after you?
No. How you guys doing? Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Jack. Great to have you in the studio, man. We're just thrilled to have you here. Of course, we're on the cusp of our tuna season here, and albacore, which built the San Diego fleet, is the stuff, and that's what you do, is you fish for albacore, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And commercial fish for albacore, and I did, the sport fishing thing, and I did both for years and years. I really enjoy the commercial albacore fishing when we do it. I feel good about it. I'm excited about it. And the one thing is like if you're somebody who comes out and is a passenger or fishing on the weekend on your boat, you get excited about it. And for all the years and all the days and years that I've spent at sea, you had to come to a point to where you're excited about it to stay up passionate about it and stay good at it. So. It's given me an avenue to be out on the ocean to where, it challenges you, and I guarantee it challenges you every day. But yeah, no, I love it to death. And we just got over our general meeting, having our general meeting for American Albacore Fishing Association. So
Right there at Pizza Nova.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's cool.
Across the street at the Holiday Inn. But I saw Pete over at the Pizza Nova. But we had about 50 of the boat owners of the boats that fish for albacore with poles and troll up and down the west coast of the United States here in San Diego.
Wow. 50.
Well, that's just part of the membership of the association. But
How many people are in your association?
You know what? I think we have 68 now.
So 68 boats that
Yeah.
actually fish pole and hook and line albacore.
Yeah, and there's a lot more than that on the coast. You know, there's guys that fish for salmon in smaller boats, and then then also fish a little bit albacore, and they might, if the fish is within 35 or 40 miles. You got to figure you got about 1,000 miles of coastline from the Mexican border up to the Canadian border in U.S. waters, California, Oregon, and Washington, and so a lot of that's opportunistic. And I'll tell you another thing it's exciting. I've never done it before, but guys hear about all these problems with salmon and stuff. I got a call from somebody who really knows there up in the Columbia River. They say that Columbia River is just choked with salmon.
Really?
Wow.
Choked. And and I've never done it sport fishing commercially.
Yeah.
I've caught 2 in my life sport fishing. As a matter of fact, last year somebody drugged me out in the river in a small little boat. We went out and caught a salmon. It was kind of fun just to be there with the guys and stuff. But yeah,
Is that king salmon that's choked with?
I'm not sure, and I'm not real hip on all that kind of stuff. But I just thought it was exciting that there was that kind of return on them.
Good. Yeah. Now, does that relate at all to the albacore fishing offshore?
The guys tell me, and I'm not an expert on this, that it's a 3 to 4 year cycle on some of the different salmon before they come back. So they go out as a smolt, they're out to sea, and good luck and good riddance. The thing is that the size of that anything in the ocean could eat it, and it's got to make it back there. And I heard it's 3 to 4 year cycles when they come back. And as far as water conditions and stuff, they're going to have to eat a lot of food. So we see one thing on the coast, and I don't know what it means, but the coastal waters from down here in California up to Oregon, up into the Oregon waters now, are 3 to 4 degrees warmer than last year. Now, it's not a big, wide strip of water. It's just out about 30 or 40 miles on the coast. And offshore, we were looking at the pictures, it's there's not a lot of warm water pushing up offshore. I mean, anywhere from 200 to 500 miles offshore. So it's not like a giant body of water moving yet, but it's early in the year. So that in itself is something different. And in that case, for the salmon thing, that could be instrumental for more growth of smaller animals that they're eating and whatever, anchovies, sardines, krill.
I
squid.
like it. It could mean a lot. This just the biomass in the ocean. It's a good signal for anywhere in the West Coast.
Yeah, and and I have to tell you, I didn't research this myself, but that person in particular that told me about the salmon run up there in the Columbia said it's the most they've seen since 1938.
1938. Imagine that.
And that's what he said. And I don't know if that's true or not, but he says that thing's choked.
That's cool.
That's cool.
That's very cool.
Now, okay, so for our listeners that haven't heard you on Let's Talk Hookup before, why don't you fill us in? You were a sport boat captain and long-range captain for many years, right?
Yeah, I started actually working on the Nulawan just when I was a little guy, about 15 years old. And after that, getting to the time when I was going to get out of high school, I kept working in the summers, and Don Sanson bought the Qualifier 105, and I went to work on there. And there was quite a group of us. Buzz Brizendine, Johnny Grabowski, and myself worked together on the boat when we were kids. And then about 2 years later, there was boats going to Midway out in the mid-Pacific and, out fishing for albacore, trolling. Just, so it's very similar to what we do in sport fishing, but it's the next level. I mean, you got to drive across an ocean. It's, the time frame is as long as it takes you to fill the boat up and make money. And hopefully you can do that. And, it was just a big adventure. So at that point in time, I went down and started working on a boat in a yard in Chula Vista. And when they launched the boat, they gave it to me to run. I was 20 years old.
Wow.
That's cool.
So that's when I started doing both. And I did that. I'd go to Midway. I went to the South Pacific. I went out in the Mid-Pacific. I ran the long-range boats, Royal Star, Qualifier. And, And basically there's like a group of us that grew up together down there around the docks, and we've all stayed friends over the years.
Yeah.
We still give each other a bad time all the time.
Oh, yeah. So then when did you start this commercial albacore fishing?
Well, I mean, I started back then, but I bought my boat actually, and this is kind of small world stuff, from Dick Gadosh, who originally owned the Nulawan in like the 60s and 70s. He built the boat that I own now, the commercial boat that I own, the Millie G, named after his wife, Millie, to kind of for his retirement when he sold the boat, the Nulawan, to Don Sansom in the sport fishing industry. So I ended up buying the Millie G from him. I think it's 16 years now or 17 years. But, so we started fishing for albacore. And, we also started something called the American Albacore Fishing Association. It's about 7 years ago now. And to represent the albacore fishermen on the west coast of the United States that just fish with a pole or with trolling lines. And there's a big group of boats that go out and do this, and to give them representation and help them market their fish and stay on top of things that could be problematic for the fleet.
Well, we're going to get back to talking more about the type of commercial albacore fishing you do, but first we're going to go to a guy that's loaded with fish. Captain Frank Lopresti from the Royal Polaris. Good morning, Frank.
Good morning. Good morning, Jack. Good morning, Rick. And Pete, nice to hear your voice. We're on our way to the Cape. We're going to be in there by midnight or so tonight. Our last day was rather uneventful because we didn't really have any room. We managed to stuff one more tuna in and one more wahoo, and then Pete Heimbach got a 190, which we had to fillet and put in the freezers up top. But anyhow, it's just been a phenomenal trip, Pete. We've got over 200 wahoo, and we have a beautiful catch of tuna. I think we have a dozen over 200, the 1 3 1/4 that John Yamati caught. It's just a phenomenal trip. And once again, we still sit on that next trip. I'm just amazed that it's still sitting on 14 passengers. But we're going to be the only boat down there that I know of during that entire time. And there's 14 passengers going on that next trip. So if somebody can find time to get away, all they got to do is call our office, okay?
And have your own stateroom and go fishing with nobody else down there in the prime time. That sounds pretty amazing, Frank.
Yeah, it's still good fishing there right now. The XL is sitting there at Hurricane Bank. He had a decent pick on the wahoo yesterday. He had 3 fish over 200. I know that the 105 was sitting there, and he didn't have any wahoo yesterday, but he had 21 tuna up to 210 pounds, so it's nice fishing. So
wow,
it's a great time to go, and the weather is absolutely gorgeous. We've just had a phenomenal trip. It's a phenomenal group of people on this trip. Everybody had a ball. It's just been one laugh after another, so everybody's had a good time, and that's about all we got to report, Pete. So,
all right, now
we're looking forward to getting home.
Hey, Frank, we talked about last week. John Yamati from C4 Sport Fishing caught the fish over 300. Now, did he catch any more big fish?
Yeah, he got a 2 1/4 at Hurricane Bank, and he did very well throughout the trip. He's he's one of those guys, Pete, that is up by 4:30 in the morning. And he's fishing by 5:30 in the morning, and he fishes until dark, until we tell him to wind him in. He fishes every day from sun up till dark, and he's always got a bait in the water. And those people who are willing to do that are going to succeed, and he certainly did. We have Richard Losey and Mike Kiyoshima. He had a fabulous trip. He's got one over 200. And, those people who put the time in generally succeed. Once in a while you get somebody that's snake bit. We had Susan Beck on this trip, and she had a bit of a tough time. It seemed like we'd catch 5 tuna in a row, and she'd get a 6th one coming up, and the sharks would eat it, But she still did very well. She still got plenty of fish. She didn't get one over 200 this trip, but as many of you know, she's an excellent fisherman too. And everybody just had a great time. We had a few heartbreakers. Bill Nakaki lost one that, boy, I don't know how big he was, but he had to be, I thought well above 250. and the hook full. But that's normal. Those kind of things are going to happen, and that's what makes people come back again. So, no, all in all, Pete, the fishing down here is just phenomenal. It just couldn't be any better than it is, okay?
Wow. And when was the Royal Polaris going to be at the dock at Fisherman's Landing, Frank?
We will be there on Wednesday morning the 21st. Wednesday morning the 21st. Should get in there about 8:30, 8:45. We'll be unloading then, and then we leave on Friday morning, okay?
Wow. And again, you want to get on that trip Friday morning, a very light load and some phenomenal fishing. Captain Frank Lopresti, you sound relaxed. You sound ready for action. Congratulations on a great trip, and we'll see you back at the dock on Wednesday morning.
All right, Pete, Rick, Jack, take care. Have a good show.
All right.
Thanks, Frank.
All right, good
How
going.
about that, huh?
That's good
Well, that sounds like good
That is
fishing.
good fishing.
What about next trip a little bit shy of 14 passengers? Like Frank says, if you had a chance that you could break away to call up and see if you could go on something like that, now that, to me, is really exciting because, man, that's a special deal that you would not ever get.
On the Royal Polaris.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
you said, you have your own stateroom for the trip. That's awesome.
Let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
It sounds like fun. Well, so we were talking about your boat,
Right.
the Millie G, and one thing I want to note is that everybody starts to go, "Oh, commercial! He's a commercial fisherman," but you're a clean commercial fisherman, and explain that.
Well, the deal is, and I, it's kind of by default. This is what I love to do, and I love to be on the ocean. Don't get me wrong. You have to love to be there, as well as all the rest of the boats that we represent in the association. That work with us in the association. One of the things that the public at large has been told, is about industrialized fishing and stuff. This group of fishermen, the fishermen that have basically left on the west coast of the United States, I mean, they're all family people. I mean, they're family-owned boats, small businesses, and it's not industrial type fishing with us with our tuna fishing. One of the things is that not a lot of people knew that we even existed. So this is what supports these small communities and towns up and down the west coast of the United States. And you want to keep it that way. One of the things that's been coming out now through some of this fisheries management is catch shares. Well, so in other words, Pete, let's just say Ricky been fishing for 10 years and he's in the top 25%, and Pete's in the top 10%. You might end up, because that's the amount of fish you've been catching for all these years, get a piece of paper that says, okay, you're entitled to catch this much fish now. Let's call it IFQ, individual fish quota. And Ricky's going to get one maybe that's a little bit smaller. But the point is, then that's something that's transferable then, and then a company or one person can come up and monopolize the fishery by buying up those catch shares and creating a pool of them. Then what he has is he owns the boats, he owns the catch shares, and then he can just hire captains to send out, which to me,
That's not right.
It's tough because the deal is that
That's not free enterprise.
no, and you have to be, so committed. Like I'll see you guys kind of asking me why I do it. I don't really ever think about it. I just loved what I did. And I tell people, as soon as you don't love what you do, and it's first of all, it's too physically taxing, it's too mentally taxing, and it's too financially taxing. I mean, you have to be geared up and be ready to rock when you're going to go do it. As soon as I can't handle that, I'm not going to go anymore.
No.
So there's only a certain percentage of people who want to do it, and they've carved out their little place in the world in this, and man, we see it going down a bad road that way.
Yeah. But every fish that you catch, with the exception of your bait, of course,
Sure.
is on a hook and line.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just so like I've said before on your show, it's just sport fishing at the highest level. I mean, as far as the skill set that you use and you're looking for the fish and you're fishing with the hook and things like that, there's nothing more exciting. So, and then the other way is trolling, and you're using an artificial lure with double hooks with no barbs, and the fish are biting it. The boat never stops. You pull the fish in, and that's when the fish are more scattered. So, I mean, it's essentially the same thing. First came commercial albacore fishing. Then came sport fishing. You see what I'm saying? That's why they're so close to each other. Sport fishing didn't come first. People didn't fish for recreation in the early 1900s. I mean, in a small way, out at Catalina and things like that. You see some of the stuff. I don't even know if the dates are right there with Zane Grey and all that kind of stuff. But, they fished bluefin and albacore and things like that. But they were actively commercially fishing for albacore back then, and then that turned into big industry. And here we are, and still using the same methods we did 100 years ago.
Unbelievable. That's pretty cool.
really
well,
cool.
we got a lot to talk about today. Jack's a phenomenal guest, and I tell you what, I'm going to pick his brain on how to find fish and catch more albacore. I want to catch some tuna this year, and this is the guy that can teach us a lot about it because that's the way he spends his life, right?
No doubt. I mean, there's no time when we get to talk to somebody that's so focused on catching that fish all year long. And yeah, we love having Jack in here. It's a lot of fun, and it's a great opportunity to get some really cool questions answered. We'd love to have you be a part of the show this morning. We do have a couple of open phone lines, and trust me, it's going to be a very busy show. So this will be your best chance to get through today. Either 858 area code 457-1090. That's the local line. Again, 858-457-1090. Or you can reach us toll-free, and that toll-free number is 877-792-1090. One more time, 877-792-1090 if you want to call it. Talk to Jack and get your questions answered about some fishing. And not only that, Jack going to be answering your questions. He's also giving us some really cool prizes for the lucky callers at the end of the show today. We're going to have 4 winners at the end of the show, and they're all going to win a 6-pack of that great American tuna, which is caught by Jack or one of his buddies out there fishing on a hook and line. And if you haven't had it, it's just the best canned fish you're ever going to
It's not even fair to call it canned tuna because it's different. It's
Absolutely.
Explain it. Why is it so much better than anything else?
Well, first of all, the fish that we catch here on the West Coast has a really high oil content in it, different than the rest of the world, the albacore. And so it is, and there's other places in the world that catch them on Bay of Biscay and some of it in South Africa that sometimes have a little higher oil content. But the fish is great here. The fish is handled correctly as far as refrigerated on the boats and stuff, and it's canned right here on the West Coast of the United States. The fish is only cooked once, so it's hand filleted and it's put in a can, and it's cooked in a retort, and so in other words, it actually cooks in the can. So that oil that's in there, the one thing that's the difference, you never drain that out. If you open it up and you see liquid, that's omega-3, and that's fish oil and stuff, and it's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And so it is, like the guys say, it's totally different. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So essentially, it's the same way that when some people go out on trips in the summertime and they can their fish in cur jars, it's the same way. And you know what a difference that is.
Yeah.
And so
it's handmade.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And a lot of TLC goes into it.
Oh, yeah. Gosh, we always love hearing Jack, don't we? Hey, here's another blast from the past. Remember Captain Chris Randall? He ran the Indian out of H&M Landing. He's commercial fishing right now off in the South Pacific out of Hawaii. I see him on Facebook now and then, but he's still around and still fishing, but just commercially. But this is a show when we actually had some albacore around in June 13th of 2010. So kick back and listen to an old favorite, Captain Chris Randall, when he ran the Indian back in the day.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Hookup on Double X 1090. Going to be a great show today, man.
Yes, indeed. It's biting.
Oh, dude.
And I love this time of the year. And it's just fantastic. And Captain Chris Randall is here from the Indian to tell us all about it. You're here. You made it.
You made it.
I think I broke my all-time speed limit on my truck.
Yeah, I was going to say where you told me you were. I'm not going to reveal where you were because they may be looking for you after the show.
I saw somebody else get pulled over on the other side. I'm cool. I'm clear.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Had a guinea pig.
Indeed. Well, hey, we opened the show saying the bluefin are biting.
I heard that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool,
Yeah.
huh?
And they are. It
Yeah.
sounds really good. Actually, I think there was over 140 fish caught by 4 boats yesterday. I think there was the Legend, the New Luan, the Success, and Top Gun 80. And the main zone was about 100 miles south of San Diego. And they're going on little spots to spots, just scattered. The sign there is just fantastic.
Oh,
awesome.
And, I mean, it's, when a boat can catch 50 plus, I think the Luan had I'm probably blowing his gig. He's probably going to call in, but I think he had 54 bluefin for 16 or 17 guys.
Oh, that's just awesome.
Yeah, and that's at I guess it's 18 to 35 pound grade fish, perfect size for catching.
Yeah.
So
and they're biting.
Yeah,
for bluefin.
Yeah, and it's only around 100 miles. So I
Yeah.
mean, and there's so few boats out there looking right now. I would bet you get 15 or 20 more boats out there, you're going to see that dock total skyrocket.
Yeah.
So I can't wait. I'm still
What
doing
about the
boat work.
albacore?
That lower zone albacore, I think some of that stuff, from what I heard, had moved, and I think it's moving up because they were on it pretty good. I haven't had a recent report for a couple of days, but the word I got is that kind of, I think Turbo's quote was, it took a powder, which means it's moving. When it disappears, it's moving.
Yeah.
So hopefully we're going to have that pop up too. Nobody's been outside the 118 line looking, that I know of. And I know I've got one report from a guy that was outside looking around the 118 line. They did see several spots of bluefin. And these guys are, another block inside. So this could be a huge spread of fish.
Like it, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's and the volume that the long range guys saw down below, they were saying that
incredible.
It's just unbelievable. Well, look, speaking of the devil, look at Marcus on the Lululand is on the line. Good morning, Marcus. You hear us, Marcus?
I can hear you. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we
Hey,
got
good
you
morning.
now. Thanks.
Good morning, Marcus.
Thanks for calling in. We were just talking about you.
I heard that.
I let the cat out of the bag. Sorry. I knew you were going to call in.
That's all right. But, yeah, it was we were pretty darn excited. It looked really, really good. It was really fun fishing. Lots of spots up, So it was busy all day. We were basically just going spot to spot. Nothing that was biting wide open or anything, but you'd slide into a spot and hook anywhere from nothing to maybe 8 or 10 fish at a time. Most of the time it'd be 2 or 3, 4 fish, guys casting up in the bow with a jig. Seemed like that was quite effective. You'd hook one that way and a couple, 3 fish on bait. As you slid into them, we had a couple that bit a little bit, but for the most part it was, kind of dicky-picky, run-and-gun type fishing, but there was lots to look at all day long. After we got into the area, we were busy all day, just going spot to spot. So it was real fun fishing.
That sounds
That's
great. How big
awesome.
of an area is that?
We didn't really get all that spread out. We didn't see any reason to go anywhere because we were looking at a lot of fish.
For sure.
The boats were spread out over maybe 6-7 miles. So, but like I said, nobody really went anywhere because there was no reason to.
Right. We need more coverage. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, within day and a half range then, though.
Well, we were on a day and a half trip. And We
Yeah.
had 16 guys. We had 54 bluefin. And I think we certainly could have done better, but a couple of our best stops when we first got there, and things happen like they usually do, and that's the way it goes. Working a few kinks out. But, it was certainly the potential was there for quite a bit more, and there was plenty of spots for more boats in the area. There's no doubt about that. It looked, really good. But one thing I was really surprised, we didn't catch any albacore. I was completely expecting to catch one the whole time. I'm sure it's just a matter of time. The conditions look absolutely prime down there. Big, huge bait balls all over the place.
Ooh.
Birds, life.
Ooh. I want to go fishing.
Yeah, we're going tonight. If anyone's interested, we're going again tonight, heading back down there. And, we were pretty darn excited. We spent a lot of time last weekend scouting and didn't come up with a whole lot yet. It just, I don't think they were quite there yet. We looked at the ocean in a lot of places, and conditions look really, really good this year. Really nice-looking water, a lot of life, a lot of bait in a lot of places. So we're real excited about the season, the way it's starting out here.
For good reason, and it's only June 13th. Yeah, we like to hear that. And Marcus, I looked at the weather. Tanner Banks wind is 0 right now, which certainly would help that flat, calm weather. Did you experience great weather yesterday, or is it just starting to happen today?
No, it was nice yesterday. We had in the morning, there was a little bit of, we still had a little bit of southwest wind. Not bad, but, there was, and we still had a pretty good leftover swell and a little bit of lump. So we did have a couple poor anglers that were kind of seasick all day yesterday and never really came out and fished. Although it was, for you and me, we'd say it was nice weather, but today, I think even for them, it would be beautiful. I mean, it was glassing off, all day. It never got glassy, but it was getting nicer and nicer. But it was nice weather, but lumpy and a little bit of leftover chop in the morning.
All right. So from what you see, this is what could be the beginning of one phenomenal season here.
Well, it sure looks good to me. I mean, we've got beautiful oceanic conditions. I think I'm more excited about the oceanic conditions than we've seen in a long time. I mean, it's lively. And then now this is a real nice body of fish that we're seeing. The long-range guys are catching fish, far, far away from there. And there was one boat down there, I know, yesterday, and he did get that albacore located again, albacore and bluefin, way down below where we are. And it was biting again yesterday.
Sweet.
So there's plenty of reinforcements behind what we're looking at, it sounds like.
Yippee!
Yeah,
awesome.
love
That's
that.
awesome.
Yes, indeed. Well, I know you're going out tonight, day-and-a-half trip tonight at a Point Loma Sport Fishing on the New Luann, Marcus?
Yeah, that's correct. Tonight, and then Tuesday night, and then next weekend as well.
And what time you leaving?
At 9 p.m., or we might leave a little bit earlier, possibly, if everyone shows up. But we're scheduled for 9.
9 o'clock at Point Loma Sport Fishing. Can you book that online at pointlomasportfishing.com?
Yeah, you can either book it online or give them a call on the phone at 619-223-1627.
Hey, Marcus, I'm going to put you on hold and have Ryan give you our new hotline number, okay? So just in case the phone lines are full next time you try and get through, all right?
Okay, sounds
All right.
good. Thank
Hey,
you.
thanks for
Thanks,
joining us this
Marcus.
morning. Hang on. Ryan will take care of that. Ryan, go ahead and take care of Marcus there. Make sure he gets the hotline number. Like this guy here, our regular hotline guy, Marcos from C4 Sport Fishing. Good morning, Marcos.
Good morning, guys. Just
Hey,
kind of to
you
follow
can-
up on Marcus's report there. The Legend just got back from their day-and-a-half trip this morning. They're unloading right now, and they brought in 50 bluefin. And the nice thing about those bluefin is they're a little smaller. They're 18 to 30 pounds, which isn't small, but that's definitely catchable. Like you said, let's go out there and catch some bluefin. And they're going to be running also. They're going back out tomorrow night, and he's going out for sure. So just want to let you guys know, keep it up there. They are catching fish, and man, I just couldn't wait till next week to tell you about that.
That's great news, Marcos.
I'm going to tell you something. My friend John Christensen just got back from a trip where he caught some bluefin, and I had a piece last night.
Yummy.
Out of the
dude,
RSW.
nothing better.
If you love tuna, there is nothing like
that's
fresh bluefin
sushi
tuna.
grade bluefin.
It is
Oh.
unbelievable how good that fish is when it's well taken care of, So it's
I'll give you some information. Maybe Ricky can get a head start on one of those research trips.
I like the way you
I
think,
so.
Marcos.
So is he going out again tonight?
No, not tonight. Tomorrow night, and then again Wednesday night.
Okay, day and a half tomorrow night on the Legend.
Correct.
All right. Well,
So
thanks,
check
Marcos.
it. Give us a call.
Appreciate the update. You can book that online, right?
Seaforthlanding.com. You can book for tomorrow night, following night, and all the trips are up there. And I'm sure you'll start seeing some more popping up now that they're catching fish.
Oh, yeah.
How nice is it to just be like, oh, yeah, 50 bluefin here. It just feels good. It feels good to say that, man. It's nice to have fish biting at home. That's great.
And then when the albacore move in, watch out.
You got it.
Absolutely.
All right, Marcos, we're excited. Appreciate the update very much.
Talk
That's
to you
cool.
Saturday.
All right. Talk to you Saturday. Now, how's that? Now, you're doing boat work?
Yeah.
yeah.
I knew this was going to happen to me. I knew it.
We really appreciate you sacrificing.
That's what I
for
told
the
my
guys.
crew. I
Yeah.
said, here's what happened. I'm going to rip up chunks of the deck. We're going to start fiberglassing, and I guarantee you the fish are going to bite. And just a couple of days, I told them, I said, well, we got about a week of boat work left here. I guarantee you this weekend somebody's going to make a catch. So you guys better get motivated because they're like working 3-4 hours a day, and I'm down there, working 8. And I'm like, come on, guys. They're like, oh, this fiberglass is itchy, and all this stuff. I'm like, well, of course it is, but. So we're almost done. I got to rock the deck and paint it this week and put together some stuff, and we're going to be up and running by next weekend. We got a 2.5-day trip.
Next weekend.
Yeah, open.
right.
But by the way, it's an open party 2.5-day trip. I've
Oh,
only
it
got
is?
8 resis, and I lowered the price to $400, and includes your meals and permits.
Oh, my.
Because I want to go so bad, then I reduced the rate. So if anybody wants to jump on that trip, give me a call at 619-523-8862. Or book it on my website at IndianSportFishing.com, and that's my shameless plug.
Yeah, no, there's no shameless plug. Hey, 2.5 day,
Yep.
that gives you basically virtually 2 days.
full days
2 full
in the
days of
zone.
fishing
Yeah,
in
I mean, the
zone.
first morning we might have to travel a little bit the first morning of the first day to get in the zone, get it located. And then after that, we fish sun up to sundown, 2 full days. So, I mean, if the stuff's still biting and then you guy can do 50 fish a day, that could easily be a 100-fish trip,
that's
bluefin.
cool.
And who knows, by next weekend, might
Maybe
be
Albies.
albacore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And-
2.5 day, leave Friday then?
Yeah, and come back Monday morning.
Wow.
Yeah, that's our Father's Day special.
Father's
And you
Day
can't beat the price.
Yeah.
No doubt.
$400,
Yeah.
including food and permits.
Yep, and all your snacks and everything.
And how limited to how many people?
24 people max.
That's it?
That's so cool,
Wow.
Chris. That's a good trip. And like
That's
you
a
say,
good one.
the biggest thing about this whole tuna fish thing, it always is just getting people out looking. And now with several boats, getting several fish, there's going to be boats going all week. There's going to be a lot more people looking. Next weekend, there'll be a big coverage area. I mean, who knows what this can snowball into.
And this is probably going to slide into the one-day zone pretty good, too.
think
Like
so.
the producers switching. They're going online out of our landing, and they're going to do overnight tuna trips and not fish hours. They're going to fish tuna, and I think they're charging like $165 weekday, $185 weekend, and that includes your permit. So, I mean, the landing's got got the Top Gun 80, Sea Adventure 80, myself, who else? I'm forgetting somebody. The Bright Morning Star, Ocean Odyssey are all online for day-and-a-half trips, 2-day trips. So any one of the 3 landings, you can go. You can get on the right length trip right now. And like I say, that stuff is going to slide into one-day area. It's moving quick. So
and I wouldn't wait too. When it's here, you want to go.
Well, you want to beat the crowds.
Right.
So if you wait 3 weeks, you're going to be in the crowds, and the parking lot's going to be full, and all the usual rigmarole. If you go now, guess what? You're probably going to be fishing. Like my trip, I got 8 people on it right now.
Very enthusiastic.
Yes,
and
the crew is the key. And a good crew versus a so-so crew is all the difference in the world. As far as just bonding with the people, helping the people, joking with them, laughing with them. I got a great cook. He never has a tantrum. I used to have been on a boat where the cook's a little grumpy or something. He's just perfect.
Wow, that was fun with Chris Randall. Hey, here's another fun one. We're going into 2014 now. December 27th of 2014, right around Christmas time there, right after Christmas, Captain Brett McBride, the Shark Man. And, of course, he was running O-Search at that time, and I think he still is running O-Search, but they had that TV show, Shark Man, and he talks a lot about going all around the world chasing sharks. So here's Captain Brett McBride, the Shark Man.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Hookup on the Mighty 1090. Back from a great holiday. Ready to talk some fishing.
I hope everybody had a great Christmas. Did Santa Claus bring you everything you wanted?
Everything and more, yeah.
There
Awesome.
you
We had
go.
a great Christmas. How about you?
Yeah, fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And Captain Brett McBride, how about you?
Morning, Brett.
Had a great
Yeah,
Christmas.
Santa Claus bring you a new shark suit?
I got a block target.
Yeah,
there you go.
All right. So since the last time on the show, you've had quite the adventures on O-Search, right?
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Pretty cool stuff, yeah.
That's so cool.
Why don't you fill us in on kind of what you... First of all, for our listeners that may have missed the last show, that when you were on, several months ago, really, what are you doing now these days? Of course, you've been in the sport fishing fleet in San Diego for numerous years, and then you kind of set off on a new adventure, right?
Yeah, well, after the offshore adventure was over and stuff, we started working with the sharks and tagging sharks, mostly white sharks. We went down and we did Guadalupe and all that stuff, and then we did Fairlawns, and we went down to South Africa, and we ended up with like 40 sharks down there. Then came back up. We've been doing the East Coast, for a couple of years, and we have several white sharks around the East Coast right now, and pretty spectacular track lines on some of them. Stuff going all the way well north of Cape Cod.
That's what's been so much fun is, when you say the track lines, being able to see, you can log on the web, see where the sharks are moving and what they're doing, and that you guys make that information, public. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's almost real time, so the scientists don't just have it for themselves and years later they write a thesis about it. It's really right there for the public to see on a daily basis, and especially the kids. We have a lot of this tracking information actually goes into an education system. So they're able to write a curriculum, from kindergarten up through 12th grade or so. Right now I think it might be 6th through 8th or 9th. But, for mathematics and geography, it's actually a STEM base, so it's like science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But there's also geography and other stuff incorporated into it. So, you have a kid that doesn't really like math, and instead of having to do a problem where, Bob gets on a train in Washington, D.C. and goes to New York, and this is the speed and how long did it take, it's, hey, let's go learn about sharks, and now you got their interest, and then you take, do an equation with the shark tracker.
That's so cool.
That's neat. Why the sudden interest? So it's not sudden; it's can come for a while. In sharks over the world, there's all this worldwide interest in sharks, especially white sharks.
Well, yeah, there's been so much, focus. Well, they've been getting killed wide open, for the shark finning thing really took it. It's like you get these giant foreign fleets, and they're actually, syndicate run, and they'll come across the ocean and, they're just cutting the fins off and letting them go. Then there's other areas of the world that, you don't need refrigeration. You can go out in a ponga, and instead of being loaded up after you get 6 or 8 sharks and have to bring them back for, before you run out of ice and keep the meat good, you just cut the fins off and stay out for a lot longer and never overload your little ponga. So you have just a much larger fleet out there doing it, and you just we're just trying to educate people on, look, this is the balance of the ecosystem of the ocean we're talking about, and you look at some of the consequences of it, and if you start getting squid populations that rise too much because there's less pressure on them, then they'll come up every night and they'll be eating the fry, and that fry is, swordfish, marlin, tuna, dorado, wahoo, all that stuff. And if it was allowed to grow to maturity, it would also become a squid eater at some, part of its life. And then, so there's less pressure on the squid even more because there's less of those. And
wow.
So some areas of the world we're looking at, it's like people think, well, there's overfishing, and that's causing this depletion in these other sport fish, but it's not. It's actually the squid getting them when they're fry. So
really, wow, that's scary. Because how do you turn that around?
Well, education, I guess. Just try to educate the population and the people that are fishing, and
it makes such total sense, but I mean, I've been fishing my whole life, and you don't think about it that way,
Yeah. So, what are some of the latest adventures that? Now, the boat's name is Osearch, right?
Yeah, OCEARCH.
Osearch, and there's a website.
Yeah, osearch.org.
Osearch.org. So, tell us about some of the most recent adventures. You've been telling me about them, and it's like, oh man.
Yeah, we had a pretty interesting year last year. Well, we left the East Coast, and then we went down to Galapagos.
Just a short little jaunt to the Galapagos.
Just a hop, skip, and a stumble to the Galapagos. But that was pretty, epic trip because we shipped it off of just sharks, and we got to tag all kinds of other stuff. So
awesome.
Multiple species on sharks. We'd have tiger sharks in the Galapagos and black tips and that stuff. But we also got to tag, some large tuna and wahoo and rainbow runners and skipjack and all this other stuff, and trying to get an idea for how the whole ecosystem moves around and works together. And we had, receiving stations that we'd drop in certain areas.
Sure.
And so that was fun. I definitely liked the tagging the tuna.
What was the big tuna of the trip that you guys tagged? Do you think? I mean, I'm sure you don't put a weight on them because you put them alive, but what kind of fish are we talking about?
The ones that we got tags in, 150s, 180s. We had some other ones that you have to decide whether you think they're really healthy or not. You don't want to put a tag in them and waste the money on it. But we were using the platform still to do that. So getting them right over the top and putting them on a tarp and lifting them out of the water and putting an internal tag.
You're taking like a 180-pound tuna, lift them out of the water, put a tag on them.
Yeah, sliding them over the platform.
How
and
cool is that?
Up on deck, yeah. So
pretty.
That was fun. And then the wahoo, we would. You want to have a glove on for both of those fish, a rubber glove. You don't want to transfer any of your oils and stuff from your hand, even into the side of the fish, it turns out. So you pretty much get yourself gloved up and grundens up and lift the wahoo right out of the water and just drop them head first right in a tuna tube. You get a big wide tuna tube.
Really?
And then their back end would be sticking out of there, and you'd have access to the belly cavity so you could put an internal tag in and drop them in. And that was the first time they've had any success. They've tried it several times in the past with no success, and we got a bunch
of satellite tag wahoo?
Yeah, and we got a bunch of them successfully tagged in.
And what'd you find out?
There's still, I haven't even been talking to the scientists lately. I've been going from one spot to the next. I'm like right now getting ready to go to Australia, so we'll be in Brisbane and Cairns next month.
Wow.
And
where's the boat right now?
It's actually on a DYT yacht transport ship.
Okay.
Yeah, we were going to go across on our own hull from Brazil. But we had work to do on the boat and some other things that we needed to take care of. So we made a deal with the DYT yacht transport, and we actually just left about 2 weeks ago. And it's on its way. It'll be arriving in Brisbane about the 15th.
So you put your ship on a ship and send it over.
Yeah. They didn't expect our size vessel when we pulled up. You can't really tell from the pictures how big it is, and they hadn't done that size ship yet. But
how do they get them on the boat? They flood. It's like they flood the. It's almost like a dry dock for a giant naval ship.
Yeah, exactly. The whole thing sinks out, and you drive right up on it, and they put several yachts up on there, and then they just float it back up, and they have divers in the water putting the chocks in place.
Wow,
it's a pretty impressive thing to watch.
How big is Osearch? How big is your vessel?
It's 126 by 33.
Wow.
Yep.
That's a lot of boats.
It draws about 13 feet of water when we're full.
That's a beamy boat. Yeah. So what's going to happen in Brisbane?
We will do tiger sharks, actually.
Tiger sharks?
Yeah, tiger sharks and maybe a couple other species. But, you think of white sharks when you think of Australia, but there's also quite a bit of stuff they want to learn with the tiger sharks, and the scientists down there were really receptive to our showing up and helping them out there.
Cool.
So, that'll be my first time in Australia. I've never been to Australia before, so we'll be going from Brisbane to Cairns over the course of about a month.
Spending some time on the Great Barrier Reef, I'm sure.
Yeah, inside it mostly. It's going to be kind of frustrating for me at times. I'm sure that I'm not going to be on the outside there. But
you can't convince the scientist to put a tag in a 1,000-pound black marlin while you're there.
I'm just going to try to get my work done as fast as I can and have some extra time. And,
there you go.
Have some fun for myself.
Cruise around. So, tiger sharks versus great whites, two of the most fearsome creatures in the ocean. Certainly, which one would you rather be in the water with?
Whichever one had the most tuna around it, I suppose. I think that the tiger shark probably. I think it's slower. I've been in the water with a lot of tiger sharks.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, and I haven't really been with whites that I've seen. So
yeah,
except for when I was in the cage. So I'm a little more comfortable with, I guess, with what you're familiar with.